We are failing our children on so many fronts in Washington state. We talk a lot about education, poor test scores, focusing on the wrong things. That's certainly a failure of kids, but also on public safety, frankly. You can do everything right as a parent. You can keep your kids out of trouble. You can get them involved in extracurricular activities. You could be a strict parent. You can do all these things, but our crime crisis has gotten so out of control. I don't intend this to be hyperbole, but it's to the point where it feels like families aren't safe anywhere. This segment is brought to you in partnership with our friends over at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org. There is a horrifying piece of video that was released over the weekend. There was a youth baseball game in Auburn, when shots erupted nearby.
Get down, you guys!
Can you imagine being a parent, beautiful day, green grass, baseball field, kids playing, and to hear that gunfire nearby and to be screaming at your child, get down, get down, get down. We talk a lot in this state about wanting to protect kids from gun violence, which obviously is a very noble goal. Whether it's in school or whether it's at a theater or a baseball game. I'm not a parent, but I imagine those sorts of things are horrifying for a parent when you hear about them. But we really go about these things the wrong way. And I'm not going to get into this big debate on gun control and the gun laws that have been put down. That's a debate we've had many, many times over again. But this very clearly is a gang situation. The Auburn Police Department, and by the way, 2 people were shot during this. They weren't part of the baseball game, but in the area where the shooting was actually happening. They were brought to a hospital. They aren't expected to die. But you had one of the vehicles, for instance, fled the scene, crashed, suspects ran. They weren't able to track him down. This has all the trappings to me of gang violence. And we have a political class that refuses to talk about gang violence. They talk about gun violence as if these inanimate objects are the things that are just erupting in gunfire and firing themselves. And again, I'm not going to sit here and have a debate with people, when we're talking about the safety of kids right now and gun control. But when you refuse, for political reasons, ideological reasons, trying to score points with your base, when you refuse to have a conversation about what's really happening here, you're refusing to do so at the expense of human life. That's it. Bottom line. This is gang violence. A lot of the shootings that are happening. Frankly, a lot of the crime that's happening. The stolen vehicles that are then used to perpetrate crimes like this, drive-by shootings, or robberies, or whatever it is. But you want to bring everything back to guns, and you're not looking at these deeper societal issues that are at play. And you're not saying, we're going to throw the book at every person who uses a gun to commit a crime. We're going to throw the book at gang members who steal firearms or vehicles to commit crimes. Because I guess it's not, politically palatable to talk about increased punishment these days? To talk about holding criminals accountable? I've always said it on the gun control thing. I'll have any conversation you want to have about guns. And they want to restrict, what people do and law-abiding gun owners and all of that. But at the same time, how many cases have we covered on this show where someone uses a gun to commit a crime, a felony, or kill someone? And automatic firearm enhancements are dropped, pled down, negotiated away. Where someone commits a drive-by shooting, judge sends them home on house arrest or sets their bail low. You want to talk about guns, but you want to forget about all these other things that are contributing to the crisis. And you want to handcuff police so they can't pursue stolen vehicles. So those stolen vehicles, often driven by people who are using them to commit other crimes, can just go about and do that. it tells me the politicians who do that they don't care about human life. They don't care about the consequences of their actions. I mean, for every parent at that game, it's, I get asked all the time, when do you think what is it going to take for people to wake up to the crime crisis, right? Because a lot of us see it and we're like, it's gotten horrible. It's undeniable. How can people just be allowing the single party in power to get away with some of these things and not push back in a meaningful way? And sadly, sometimes I think it takes being the victim yourself or having something like that happen right before your eyes. I hate that it takes that, but I really think it does. And now you're seeing that the violence that's taking over our communities, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It has so ingrained itself in our communities. And the only way to solve the crisis is to expect that our elected leaders will actually focus on the root causes of the problem and on things that work, not on policies that are going to get them a big flashy headline in the Seattle Times. That segment is brought to you in partnership with our friends over at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org.